Hi folks, I'm FoxxC. This is FoxxTales, my show where I talk to you about how and why we tell stories and the impact they have on us and the world around us. I am a professional writer and filmmaker who loves to nerd out on every facet of storytelling. So if this kind of stuff is up your alley, you should click the like button and subscribe to the channel so you can find my new videos more easily. This video is part of my series of tips for writers, and you can find more of them on this channel, along with video essays and interviews with other creatives. In this video, I'll be discussing how and why we adapt stories to different audiences, formats, and mediums, with examples from my portfolio. Picture this. You're a screenwriter trying to break into the industry. You've been sending out your portfolio to whoever will take a look at it, and you finally get a hit. A producer with Lifetime wants you to write a script for a story that they'll provide. They send you a list of news articles about a recent shocking court case, a couple sample scripts, and a template with their act structure. You've got 8 to 10 weeks to turn that story into a 100-page movie of the week script. There's 25 grand on the table. Better adapt fast. Puns aside, this is a reasonable idea of what your first big gig might look like as a screenwriter. The task is to adapt real-life events into a movie of the week format, complete with act breaks for commercials. Adaptation is a critical skill as a professional storyteller in a highly variable market. Being able to take a story from one format or medium and tell it in another, or create an age-appropriate version of a story, among other things, makes one way more valuable as a freelancer. Adaptation is also a test of one's command of the craft because it involves an intimate, dynamic understanding of the relationship between story, character, theme, format, and audience. Audiences are notoriously judgmental of adaptations of their favorite works, and if you're one of those people, this video will hopefully help you soften your stance a little bit. Adapting work is hard, and doing it to everybody's satisfaction is impossible. So cut creators, a little bit of slack. Criticize them about other stuff. There are lots of different approaches to adapting a story. The most straightforward of which is to do as direct an adaptation as the new medium will allow. Maybe you're turning Romeo and Juliet into a movie, and you just add scene descriptions of Renaissance hero Verona to the dialogue. Right?
I do bite my thumb, sir.
Do you bite your thumb at us, sir?
Maybe you want to get creative with your adaptation. So you keep the dialogue and characters, but set Romeo plus Juliet in modern-day California.
Do you bite your thumb at us, sir? I do bite my thumb, sir! Do you bite your thumb at us? Sir.
Maybe you see a meme about skunks and raccoons being the Montagues and Capulets and decide to write an animated feature script that is a loose adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, but the families are anthropomorphic animals feuding over neighborhood trash, the lovers are lesbians, some plot points are kind of different, and it has a happy ending. If that sounds super specific, it's because I did actually do that. Skunks versus Raccoons turned out pretty well, and it's recognizably Romeo and Juliet, in the same way that The Lion King is recognizably Hamlet. This style of adaptation is super common, and I'm sure you can think of dozens of other films, TV episodes, comic books, or novels, or even whole TV shows that are direct adaptation of another work, right? There's the book of the film, there's the comic book of the film, there's the movie made from your favorite novel that you hate because they didn't do it right. Studios love this, publishers love this, because they know the story already works and there is already an audience for the story. There is another style of adaptation, however. A writer may choose to hold on to the key themes or aspects of a work, but change plot or character elements in radical ways. Some good examples of this are things like A Knight's Tale, 10 Things I Hate About You, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and the Kingdom Hearts series, all of it. You can also use this method to adapt something so completely that it essentially becomes an original work, which is how a space opera Twilight fanfic became a best-selling erotica novel. I'm not kidding. links to proof in the description. This process is far from frowned upon, though IP rights will still be enforced because capitalism, and it forms the backbone of literary culture, TV and film included. Adaptation in this form functions as an ongoing dialogue between creators who use their work to reference, expound upon, and critique social issues, the works themselves, and each other. So like, there are 20-something Robin Hood film adaptations at this point, and it's impossible to make one without being in dialogue with at least some of the others.
And why should the people listen to you?
Because, unlike some other Robin Hoods, I can speak with an English accent.
I should know I'm currently writing my own adaptation of the myth, Cannibal Robin Hood. It's fucking hilarious. So good. I have also written a script as a purely thematic adaptation. One of our assignments in film school was to adapt a work from their list, and I actually came up with the aforementioned Skunks vs. Raccoons idea for that project, because Romeo and Juliet was on that list. But so was David Mamet's play, Glengarry Glen Ross, and I had an epiphany about the themes of the predatory nature of sales culture in that story, and some apocryphal tales I'd heard from my father of how a local billionaire got his start, which I turned into an entirely original short screenplay called Steak and Beans, about a dinner between a group of car salesmen. It's a fantastic, suck-the-air-out-of-the-room thriller, and I'd like to see it made one day. Did pretty well in script competitions, too. The technical aspects of adaptation are deceivingly simple. In addition to being familiar with the characters, details, and themes of the story you're working with, the most important technical skill you need to adapt a story successfully is a strong understanding of both the medium of the original work and the target medium for the new work. If you don't know how a film screenplay works or how a season of episodic television is put together, you're going to have a real headache adapting a novel into one, and vice versa. You need to know the contours of your mold before you can massage your story to fit it, including the general structure, how dialogue and action are handled, and what limitations the format might impose. Some things are really easy to write and really hard to produce on film, or harder on stage. Oof, some stuff like physics, people. This also goes for genre conventions. If you're adapting a pirate adventure to a sci-fi setting, for example, it helps to know what an audience is going to expect. Spaceships, androids, aliens, and robots. The best way to get started with adaptations is to raid the public domain, which is another topic for another video. But there is so much stuff available to us to pull from, and you should go out and adapt it to your heart's content. Make a comic book out of Pride and Prejudice. Turn H.P. Lovecraft's horror mythos into a fishing game. You'll have fun, you'll learn a lot, and you might just end up with something that you can sell. So there's no right way to adapt a story. These are all just some guidelines to help you understand the process. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'd like to hear your experiences adapting stories or your feelings about your favorite adapted stories in the comments. If you want to see more from me, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. You can check out some of my writing in the sci-fi and horror anthologies I publish through Anomalous Transmissions Media, which are available on Amazon. I also publish a free monthly newsletter that includes project updates, writing tips, and my thoughts on the media I've been consuming that month. Links are all in the description. If you do sign up for the email newsletter, make sure to check your spam folder. If you'd like to support my work directly, you might want to consider leaving a tip for me at www.coffee.com/FoxxTales, or becoming a patron at www.patreon.com/FoxxTales, like these lovely folks. Patrons get access to early drafts of upcoming stories and unpublished screenplays, including some of the ones I talked about in this video, along with the joys of supporting an independent trans creative and some other available perks like assistance with your writing. As always, links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a great day.